it's Ty with Ty the Dog Guy on the Daily, and I want to talk about overcoming fear. And overcoming fear in a way that you might not think about. And I know I have talked about similar things before in the past, and so maybe there'll be a little bit of a review in what I'm talking about. But I was reminded about it today because I have this client. It was our last session, our last private session before they start coming to our group sessions. But she had a rescue dog, and so this was a dog that, she didn't know the history of. She didn't know any of that. She got the dog when, 2 or 3 years old, something like that. And the dog was scared of everything, scared of sounds, scared of people, just a nervous dog that was, like I say, just scared of her own shadow. And not only that, like, the owner was really wishing that the dog would bond with her more. That, because the dog didn't necessarily want to cuddle, didn't necessarily, enjoyed the owner, but wasn't necessarily, super into that physical affection and things that a lot of owners want from their dogs, that most of us do, right? And so I remember sitting in our first session talking about that, and her saying, what are we going to do to get her to want to bond with me, to get over this fear and things like that? Because she had tried a lot of things that, that folks would naturally want to do. Things like, lots of treats and lots of, well, you don't like my dad, let's have my dad give you treats. Or you don't like this thing, let's give you treats for this thing. And the problem was that her fear was bigger than her desire for treats. The challenges that she ran across were, in those moments she's like, keep your treats, I don't want them. And so I told her in that first session, I said, listen, here's what I'm hoping for. I don't know what's going to happen. I can guess what's going to happen, but here's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that as we work through the obedience and as we work through the structure, that bond that you're wanting is going to happen. So today was our last session. It was our Transform Your Dog in 60 Days program, so we're about, 57 days or something like that today. But anyways, we're essentially about 60 days, about 2 months in. And we kind of reviewed that. We said, okay, you wanted this bond. How are things? And she's like, it's great. She wants to please me now. She wants to work for me now. She wants to, she wants to cuddle with me. She's excited when I get home, things like that. And not only that, a good majority of the fear isn't there. She's not afraid of these people that she used to be afraid of and these situations that she used to be afraid of. And so, like I kind of mentioned in the very beginning of this podcast/vlog, we went about it in a way that some might consider unconventional, because we used an electric collar and we used training collars to get her over that. And so, like I say, the conventional wisdom for for folks that might not be aware of certain more modern training techniques would be like, well, no, this is a dog you absolutely can't use an electric collar with, because if you do, it's going to make her more afraid. Now, again, a lot of folks don't understand a lot of the modern training techniques. That's totally okay. But in not understanding that, they don't realize what the electric collar is actually for. Because a lot of people think the electric collar is for, you did something bad, zap. I don't like this, zap. This was wrong, zap. And to be completely fair, that can be part of electric collar training protocol. Maybe the dog's chewing on your table leg. We might give just a quick correction with it because we don't like that. But that wasn't her. This dog had none of those issues. She didn't chew. She didn't jump on people. She was fearful, and she didn't bond. And so anyways, how did the electric collar help her overcome fear and help her bond more with her owner? It did it primarily through really solid obedience. And I want to highlight this, and hopefully, if you are dealing with a dog that has some fear or anxiety, this is something that you can highlight in your mind and double underline and things like that. When we've got a dog with fear, what is that? Fear is uncertainty. Fear is, I don't know what to do about my surroundings. Fear is, this makes me nervous and I really don't know how to process it. Fear is, I feel like I have to deal with this on my own, and I don't think I'm equipped to do that. And so what's the antidote for that? When we get a much better level of obedience, so when I say much better, I'm referring to on-leash obedience, off-leash obedience, with distractions. When we get that level of obedience, what we get is we get a dog who a couple things happen. Number one, that level of obedience comes from a very calm place, a calm state of mind, whereas fear comes from a hectic state of mind. So if we create calm state of mind, right there we can drive out a lot of the fear, just right there. And so that's where the electric collar, unused on a very low level for teaching concepts, is an amazing way to break through a lot of fear right there. Because it's not about punishing the dog, it's about teaching the dog how to be obedient. And as the dog's level of obedience elevates, the fear goes down and the fear starts to dissipate and go away. But the second thing that this does, that obedience does, is obedience really solves relationship issues. And to be honest, nearly every dog I see that has some sort of like real fear. I mean, every dog is afraid of something, right? But, you know, dogs that have chronic fear or fear that leads to aggression or, you know, other things like that. Dogs that have that kind of fear, there's a relationship issue. Almost always. It might not be a big one. Sometimes it is a big one, but it might not be. It might just simply be the dog doesn't have the trust for the owner that they need to, that the owner's going to take care of scenarios. Or the dog doesn't focus on the owner, doesn't see the owner in that leadership role as much as they should. And so obedience does that, because as the dog is obedient, the dog learns to put the owner's will first. And that's important. Not to be some sort of domineering jerk and like, hey, you're going to do it my way. But it's important because if your dog has fear issues, your dog doesn't have good instincts. You know, in this dog's case, she was afraid of everything, and that's a bad instinct. You know, her instinct tells her, be afraid of this, but there's no reason to. And so as she learned to put her owner's will first and say, no, you can't run away from that, you need to heel. No, you can't run away from this, you need to sit. No, you can't do that, you need to come, or whatever. As she learned to put her owner's will first, she really started to looking to her owner in a leadership role. And as she looked to her owner in a leadership role, so much of that fear went away. So the fear went away from two different areas. It went away from having strong leadership and from creating a state of mind that was kind of the opposite of fear. And so both of those two elements came from really solid obedience, and that came from the electric collar training that we did. So anyways, to go in reverse order, electric collar created great obedience, which created a great relationship and a great state of mind. And so that's where, like I say, for a lot of folks, it's counterintuitive until they actually understand what modern trainers are doing and are able to do with a lot of the scientific training that we have available today. But once you understand that and are able to train like that with your dog, you can help your dog get over so many fear issues and so many challenges by understanding what's going on inside that brain of your dog and how you can work the dog through it. And so again, an electric collar used right can really help with fear. An electric collar used wrong is going to create more fear. And so it's not like the tool itself did anything. It's the tool applied appropriately with modern scientific training is what created the results. And so, like I say, in the matter of 2 months, the dog got over an enormous amount of fear, tons of bonding, and you know, now we've got just a normal, obedient, happy, healthy dog. Whatever your dog is dealing with, fear, anxiety-wise, you can see similar results if you learn how to create those two things: the great obedience that leads to state of mind, and the great obedience that leads to great relationships. So hopefully that's something that you can do. Let us know if we can help.